Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. I'm Devin Albertson for the Division Two show I do here every morning on Facebook Live, and I put it on YouTube later. Hope everybody enjoys this. We have a lot to talk about this week with regional rankings, among other things, here in the show. I'm not sure why my video is not coming up, but we're gonna have to go do this without my face today because it looks like my camera is not working. So that'll be fine. We'll just power through it. We're going to go first to the AFCA poll here. Northwest Missouri State, of course, number 1, 34 first place votes. Followed by Shepherd, Minnesota State, IUP, Midwestern, Indianapolis, Fort Hays, Central Washington, and Texas A&M Commerce. You see it around the top 15: Winona, Ferris, Ashland, Assumption, Sioux Falls, and Colorado Mesa. If you look at it, Super Region 3 and 4 dominate the top 15. Because Super Region 3, you have Northwest, Indianapolis, Fort Hays, Ferris, Ashland. There's 5 teams from Region 3. From Region 4, there's Minnesota State, Midwestern, Central Washington, Commerce, Winona, as well as Sioux Falls and Mesa. They have 7 teams in the top 15. So that's 12 of the 15 teams up there. So everybody but Assumption, IUP, and Shepherd. And those 3 teams, I believe, are in Super Region 1. So Super Region 2, probably the weakest. If you go by the coaches poll right now, their highest ranked team is number 16 at Wingate and Virginia State. So they have a couple teams right in the edge there, but right now the region is fairly weak nationally. And then if you want to go to the D2Football.com poll, a little bit of teams missing match: Northwest, IUP, Minnesota State, Ashland, Shepherd, Midwestern, Ferris, Fort Hays, Commerce, UIndy, Winona, Central Washington, Sioux Falls, Grand Valley, Assumption. So a lot of different teams kind of in and out of each one of these polls. What I'm using today for everything, I'm using the D2Football.com rankings for the games I'm doing later to see where everybody ranks among those. So we'll get rid of that and we'll go to regional rankings here real quick. And that's what they are. All 4 of them. It's kind of hard to see that, so we're going to break it down one by one here. This is Super Region 1. As you can see, IUP number 1, followed by Assumption, Shepherd, Slippery Rock, Westchester, and Kutztown right now would be in, with Notre Dame, Shippensburg, and LIU Post. Shippensburg, they're 7-1 in the year, but they've played a pretty weak schedule to date. Their 1 loss is to Westchester. They got a big game versus Kutztown this week, so if they win that, they'll be securely in the top 7 going forward. LIU Post there, number 10. So a lot of 2-loss teams in this region with the 3 undefeated at the top. Now, I'm guessing they gave IUP the advantage for playing 8 games to the 7, like Assumption and Shepherd. IUP, of course, from the PSAC, which is viewed as being a little stronger than the Northeast 10 and the MEC, where the Northeast 10 is where Assumption is from, and the Mountain East Conference is where Shepherd is from. Finley, they are from the newly formed GMAC conference. They're right now at 4. They're 1 loss. I believe it's the Ferris State, who was in Super Region 3 and ranked in that one. So a lot of good teams in here. Slippery Rock, Westchester. So we'll see how this breaks down further into the year. A lot of games for these teams to be played against each other. So we'll see how that goes forward. Also, Notre Dame, they have a big matchup later this year where they take on UIndy over Super Region 3 as well. So that's a big matchup for Notre Dame with another rival from Ohio, but a different region. All right, so that's Super Region 1. We'll go to Super Region 2 right now. This is the weaker of the 4 regions right now, going by record-wise at least. Only 2 undefeated teams at Wingate and Virginia State. But they have West Alabama from the Gulf South at number 2, which is viewed by most one of the top conferences in Division 2. Right now they have West Alabama, Delta, West Georgia, all ranked in the top 7 to go to the playoffs. Right now they've been the best 3 teams in that region. West Georgia, their only 2 losses are to West Alabama and Delta State. Delta State lost to West Alabama, and they lost last week to Valdosta State. And the West Alabama, their 1 loss is I believe West Florida or Florida Tech. Sorry, Florida Tech. They've been beating up on each other a bit in that conference, but they're still getting West Alabama the 2 seed right now. Wingate right now the 1. Virginia State out of the CIAA along with Bowie State 3 and 4. Bowie's only loss is to Virginia State, so as long as those two teams don't lose to Virginia Union, the CIAA should get 2 teams in, which will be a plus for that conference. Right now, the SIAC is not represented because I think Tuskegee is probably the highest ranked team. They're probably 11 or 12 right now, so we'll see what happens going forward. But Wingate out of the SAC, along with Catawba, Albany State, Miles. So a lot of parity in this one right now, but this looks like a couple 3-loss teams could get in this region, which probably won't happen elsewhere around the nation. But we'll go to Super Region 3 right now, one of the tougher regions. Northwest, UIndy, and Fort Hays all undefeated. Of course, next Saturday on the November 4th, big matchup in Maryville, Missouri, as Fort Hays goes to Northwest Missouri State. That can most likely decide a top seed in the region. UIndy, they play in the GLVC, which is a bad conference to say the least. They have pretty much very little competition in that conference. They do have a win earlier this year versus Grand Valley State, which will help them. Later on, and as I said earlier, they played Notre Dame from Ohio. And last week of the regular season here in a couple weeks. Maybe bolster their resume here. But right now, UIndy on pace to go undefeated, and either Northwest or Fort Hays will most likely go undefeated as well and get that 1 seed with UIndy being the 2. And the 3 seed's kind of up for grabs, whether they'll drop Northwest and Fort Hays down to 3 or maybe to the 4 or 5 range. We'll see what happens going forward. Right now, they're all undefeated. Top 3 teams in the region. For Ashland, their only losses to IUP, who's ranked first in Super Region 1, so can't really blame them. They do have wins over Tiffin and Ferris State. They have a big matchup with Grand Valley next weekend, so a couple of big matchups in this region next week with Ferris and Grand Valley. Ferris, of course, their 1 loss to Ashland. Central Missouri, their 2 losses, Fort Hays and Northwest, 1 and 3 in the region, so they're not going to bump them for that. They also just beat Washburn last week. Big win for SEMO, as they have Central Oklahoma coming to town as 4 and 4 this week, and a win there. And most likely, Central Missouri's schedule is favorable. On the rest of the way out, they should probably make the playoffs if they win out. Number 7, Grand Valley State. They've dropped to UIndy and Ferris State, both in this region, both ranked above them. They still have a date with Ashland coming up. They need to win that or they're out of the playoffs, most likely. So 3 losses probably won't get you in. Ouachita, I'm hoping to Ouachita Baptist at 8. Right now, they would actually be in the playoffs due to earned access from the GAC. Arkansas Tech at 9, and then Tiffin at 10 at 5 and 3. Also, Southeastern Oklahoma is at 6 and 2, and I can't remember the other team. Southern Arkansas, all at 6 and 2 from the GAC. They have 4 teams right there who are all in the mix between 8 and 13, or whatever 8 and 12 it is, with Tiffin right there to possibly get in. So those teams all kind of control their own destiny. If they win out, they're most likely to be in. They want to get somebody in from the GAC, but if the winner of that conference has 3 losses, it'd be tough to justify getting them in over a 3-loss Grand Valley State team, whose 3 losses are to 3 very good teams instead of just getting beat up in a bad conference. So the GAC is the weakest, is probably the second weakest conference. UIndy from the GLVC is probably the weakest conference, but UIndy's been dominating teams and not getting beat up in it, where the GAC is a lot of parity, a lot of the middle of the road teams beating up on each other. We'll have 2 games this week, my pick'ems, to talk more about the GAC, but right now a 3-loss team might win that conference and knock the conference out of playoff contention in Super Region 3. Okay, last Super Region number 4. As you can see, 9 teams with 1 loss or fewer in this region, including 4 undefeated teams. Winona at number 1 from Northern Sun. Minnesota State from Northern Sun at 3. They actually play this week. That'll be one of our games coming up. Sioux Falls at 6. They still have to play Minnesota State. And then, of course, Minnesota Duluth at 10, the only 2-loss team ranked in the top 10 in this region. They've already lost a couple of their big games to Mankato and Sioux Falls earlier this year, but they're both being one of my games I picked this week against the 5 and 3 team. One second. Central Washington from the GNAC, they're right now at 2, undefeated. And they got Humboldt State coming up here in a few weeks at number 5. What the GNAC does, they play in conference, they play every team twice because there are only 5 teams in that conference. So Central Washington already beat them once at home. They had to go to Humboldt still. Excuse me, sorry. So still a tough game there with Central Washington. They also have a tough game this week versus Azusa Pacific. Sioux Falls, of course, set at 6. The only team from Colorado Mesa at 7 from the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Right now, they're one of their best hopes to get to the playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting attacked by the sniffle of the sneezes right now. Of course, number 4, 8, and 9 are all from the Lone Star Conference with Midwestern, Commerce, and Eastern New Mexico. Right now, if Commerce didn't make the playoffs, that'd be a travesty. They're one of the best teams in the nation right now. Their only losses to Midwestern. Oh my goodness. Commerce and Midwestern getting hurt right now for only playing 5 games. Both teams had a bye earlier this year. Plus, they've had games canceled due to weather down south with the hurricanes that hit earlier this year. I'm so sorry for all the sneezing right now. But right now, Super Region 4 is a mess. They'll figure that out more going forward. But I believe there's some more chaos to be had in Super Region number 4. Now we'll just go to the games of the week. Man, this sneezing fit has really got me right now. But right now, the MIAA biggest game is two big rivals who one right now is number 1 in the nation. The other one has struggled a bit to get anything going. In Pittsburg State, 8-0 versus 4-4. Northwest offense scoring 29 points per game, while Pitt State scoring 28. On my screen, the big difference in this game, the offenses are pretty even. If you look at the numbers, a little better rushing attack by Pitt State, better passing attack by Northwest, but offenses about equal in production. Northwest more yards per game, but points per game is so close that Northwest, especially in the red zone, is really holding them back right now in offense. But if you look at these two teams, Northwest has won 38 straight games, and the D2 record is 40. Northwest been outscoring teams 33-3 at home, but 25-12 on the road. Away from Bearcats, and this includes the Arrowhead game. They're ranked first in Super Region 3 right now. Pitt State have won 2 straight over Missouri Western, 26-10, and Emporia 27-10. So their defense is improving. Northwest scores number 1 defense in the nation. First scoring, first total, first against the rush, 17th against the pass. Someone's got to pass a little bit against them. If you look at Pitt State, their defense has improved a lot from last year. 25 points per game allowed, 380 yards of offense, but still top 100. Passing is 83rd, and rushing is 104th. So there's some yards to be had against this defense. You can score a little bit against them, but they've been playing a lot better over the past couple of weeks. Kind of slowing games down, limiting possessions for the other team, and helping their defense out a bit there. Pitt State losses this year are Decisional Missouri 28-23, Lindenwood 45-11, Washburn 35-20, and Fort Hays 21-17. They're 2-2 at home this year. Their average home score is Pitt 22, the opponent 30, so 30-22 loss about what they're averaging at home this season. But I'd give the Northwest the advantage in this one. Massey has it 21-7. I'm going to go 28-3 Northwest. I think they have a little better offensive showing this week, score a little bit better in the red zone, and take down Pitt State. A couple other stats here. Northwest ranked number 1 in both the coaches and the Division II poll. They are 48-5 all time, ranked first in the AFCA poll. Record when being number 1 playing Pitt though 3-2. So Pitt's been one of the better teams to knock them off. They played 5 times already with Northwest ranked number 1. This will be the 6th meeting between the two when that's happened. Northwest leads the all-time series 26-24. The Bearcats have won the past 2 meetings. Last time Pitt won a regular season home game versus Northwest was 1995, 22-14. The last home win versus Northwest overall was in the playoffs in 2011, 41-16. Overall, Pitt is 13-8 versus Northwest in Pittsburgh, but 2-5 since 1997. Of course, most of that is playoff games, with a big part of this rivalry being played down in Arrowhead, the neutral site. That's why there's not a whole lot of home wins for Pitt State versus Northwest. But the first year they came back from that was a couple years ago, 2015, when Northwest won that game 31-14. That was a big win for the Bearcats a couple years ago. Go on the road, win in the jungle. Unfortunately, this will not be a matchup of ranked teams. Pitt's been struggling a bit this year. They've had 22 matchups prior where both these teams were ranked. So a lot of history between these two teams. Two of the most decorated teams in the MIAA. But as you can tell, right now Northwest getting the better of them right now than they will tomorrow too, 28-3 Bearcats. Next game, Harding versus Southeastern Oklahoma. Oklahoma was ranked last week. They've lost again to Southern Arkansas, so they dropped out of the rankings. If you look at Southeastern, they've started the year 6-0. They've lost their last two. Harding, they started the year 0-3. They've won 5 straight. So these two teams going in opposite directions right now. As you can see with Harding, their offense, they are last in passing, but they are first in rushing. That's what you're going to get when you have a triple option attack. They run so well down there in Searcy, Arkansas. 333 yards per game on the ground. I think they're able to run the ball at will against Southeastern Oklahoma. They played a pretty weak schedule to date. Harding leads the all-time series 20-7, including 5 straight wins. Last time Southeast Oklahoma beat Harding was in 1999, 41-27. Average score of the last 5 meetings has been 27-20 Harding. The last meeting down in Durant, Oklahoma, Harding won in 2015, 63-60 in overtime. Harding is 8-6 all-time in Durant, winning the last 2. So I'm going to give Harding the advantage here. So does Massey. Massey says 31-24 Harding. I'm going to go 35-24 Harding. I think they're going to score a little more than 31 points and dispose of Southeastern, giving them their 3rd straight loss and probably knock them out of playoff contention as Harding tries to win out and get a share of that conference title of 5-3 after losing their first 3 games. They're going to kick themselves. I think they lost to Southern Nazarene. If that doesn't happen, Harding right now is a really solid team for playoff contention with that triple option, but they're going to be out this year most likely. Staying down in the GAC, Arkansas Monticello at Ouachita Baptist. Arkansas Monticello, they've won 3 straight, including wins. Win at Arkansas versus Arkansas Tech, 46-45. Right now, 6-2 in that conference. Baptist, they've won 2 straight, including both losses came at home to Southeast Oklahoma, 41-35, and Harding, 31-28. Baptist is ranked 8th in Super Region 3 WBM with earned access. Ouachita leads the all-time series 42-33 and won. UAM won last year's game 34-26. Though Baptist won the 5 meetings before that. Last meeting in Arkadelphia, Baptist won 20-17 in 2015. This has the Tigers as a 41-35 favorite over the Boll Weevils. This is going to be a fast-paced game, I'll tell you this right now, because both these defenses can't stop the run, and both these offenses run the ball really well. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a lot of points in this one. 42-41 is my prediction, with the Tigers coming out on top. Give me the Purple Tigers. I think they're going to win at home. If this game was in Monticello, I might give the Boll Weevils the advantage here, but I'll give the Tigers the advantage at home. They win a close one, 42-41 down the GAC. But if Baptist loses, that really puts a wrench in the GAC's title hopes. If both Baptist and Southeastern lose, the only 2 lost teams left is Arkansas Tech and Southern Arkansas, and that could be a trouble with this conference going forward. If your best teams have 3 losses after regular season, you might not get a playoff team in, as I said earlier. So that's game 3. Game 4, Shippensburg at Kutztown. Shippensburg's rolled everyone except their loss to West Chester, 37-27. They've won 2 straight. They are 9th right now in Super Region number 1. Kutztown, they've won 3 straight since their 27-21 loss at West Chester. They're 7th in Super Region number 1. I think Kutztown's only other loss was to Assumption, who's ranked, I believe, in Super Region number 1. Yes, they're ranked 2nd there. So Kutztown, still a good team. Only loss is to Assumption and West Chester, both ranked in the regional rankings right now. Look at the stats right now. Shippensburg does have better stats, but they've also played a little bit of a weaker schedule to date, while Kutztown had to play a little better teams going forward so far this year. Shippensburg leads the all-time series 48-19-2. Kutztown won last year's game 24-21 in overtime. Last Shippensburg win was in 2014, 37-32. Last time they played in Kutztown won 51-27 in 2015. So last time Shippensburg won in Kutztown was 2012. They won that game 73-35. And I know Massey has this one 28-25 Kutztown. I'm going to take Shippensburg in this one 28-27. This would be a really good game. I think Shippensburg gets the road win. I picked against them earlier this year versus West Chester. I think they go on the road and beat Kutztown in this one. Should be a fun game over in the PSAC, though. This is a big game for Super Region number 1 for playoff implications. If Shippensburg loses, most likely they won't make the playoffs. Kutztown needs a win to stay in right now in Super Region number 1. Now we'll go to Super Region 4 games. We've got 3 of them on the docket today. Azusa Pacific at Central Washington, ranked 12th in Division 2, according to the D2Football.com poll. Azusa, they're 5-3, but their losses, 1 to Central Washington and 2 to Humboldt State, who right now, if you look at the regional rankings, is 5th at 6-1. Their only losses to Central Washington. So Azusa, still a solid team, but 3 losses to 3 good teams. 3 losses to 2 good teams, one of them twice. As you can see there, they can put some points on the board, scoring 42 per game. Central Washington, they score about 40 points per game, only allowing 16. But I do like Central Washington's rush defense, 61 yards per allowed, which is 3rd best, only behind Northwest and Sioux Falls. Azusa right now at 44th. And the rushing attack should be interesting there. But I think Central Washington with that 12th ranked rushing attack will be able to run the ball a little bit on Azusa. Some notes. This game, I said it earlier, Azusa Pacific 3 losses to Humboldt 30-19, Central Washington 17-16, and Humboldt State on the road 52-49. So 3 losses this year, 15 total points combined in those 3 losses. So they've been in all those games. So Azusa right now is still a solid team. Out west, Central Washington last week beat North Alabama 17-10. Big win for the Wildcats, playing take on the national championship runner-ups from last season, beating them out in Central Washington with that win last week by 7. They're ranked 2nd right now in Super Region number 4. Central Washington leads the all-time series 8-6, but Azusa's won 4 of the last 6 meetings, 4 of the 5 coming into the year before losing earlier this year at home to Central Washington. This one's at Central Washington. I'll give Central Washington the win, 34-21. Massey says 31-21. I think Central Washington is playing really good football right now. I think they go away with the win in this one. Then probably the biggest game of the weekend, number 17, Winona State at number 3, Minnesota State Mankato. Ranked matchup here. Both teams undefeated in the Northern Sun in overall. Minnesota State probably has a better offense. They have played a little bit of weaker schedule going into this. Winona State's big win over Sioux Falls and Bemidji State. Beat Bemidji State 30-20 in week 1. And won at Sioux Falls in week 6, 31-13. They're ranked 1st right now in Super Region number 4. Minnesota State Mankato, big win right there was week 3 at Duluth, 38-23. They're ranked 3rd in Super Region number 4. Mankato leads the all-time series 35-19-4, but Winona has won the last 2 meetings, 34-31 in 2016 and 31-27 in 2015. Both times Mankato was ranked 19th last year and number 1 in the nation in 2015, and then Winona knocked them off there. So right now, another time Mankato's ranked. Winona's actually ranked this time with them. Winona went 8-3 last year. Then they went 5-6 the year before that. So they've been improving rapidly down up the Northern Sun. As the last meeting in Mankato was 2015 when Winona won 31-27. Last home win for Mankato in this series was 2012, 30-20 over Winona. And Winona's won 3 of the last 5 meetings. I think it's going to carry. Massey thinks it's going to carry on 31-28 win for Winona's, what they predict. But I'm going to take Mankato on this one. I think they win 28-24. I think they're just a little bit better on defense. Their offense is a little more explosive, especially the rushing attack. I'm going to give Mankato the close win here, 28-24. Should be a fun game up in the Northern Sun, but give me the Mavericks in this one to win this. And then last game that I have on the docket, Minnesota Duluth, number 24 in the nation, the D2Football.com poll at 6-2. At Bemidji State, also 6-2. Duluth won 5 straight games. Their losses this year, number 1 versus Sioux Falls, 25-7. And week 3 to Mankato, 38-23, both at home. They're ranked 10th in Super Region number 4 right now, so their mindset is win, and you stay right in the contention for a playoff spot. Other teams ahead of you lose. Bemidji, they also have a similar outspect on the year to Duluth, losing week 1 to Winona, 30-20, and week 3 at Augustana, 30-27. But since then, rolled off 5 straight wins at sharp 1-2. Both these teams still trying to stay in playoff contention. Duluth leads the all-time series, though, 45-10-1. 15 straight wins for Duluth in this series. Duluth's been ranked 9 times in those 15 meetings. This will be their 10th meeting in the last 16 matchups where Duluth's been ranked, so they're definitely the more solid team nationally in those matchups. Also, Duluth's won 7 straight in Bemidji. Last win from Bemidji was at home in 1999, 35-26. So Massey has this Bemidji State winning at 34-31. I'm taking the history. I'm taking Duluth 31-27 in this one. They hold the Beavers down under 30 points to get the win here. I know all the stats kind of point towards Bemidji State and the Beavers winning this one, but I think Duluth, just a little better team right now. I think they have enough to win on the road here. Should be a fun game for the Northern Sun, though. So in recap, I am taking Northwest over Pitt State 28-3, taking Harding over Southeastern Oklahoma 35-24. I'm taking Ouachita Baptist 42-41. I am taking Shippensburg 28-27 over Kutztown. I am taking Central Washington 34-21 over Azusa. I'm taking Winona to lose 28-20. Taking Minnesota State 28-24 over Winona, and then I'm taking Duluth 31-27 over Bemidji State. So that's what I have for the games this week. A lot of good matchups for this Saturday, week 9. A lot of stuff kind of winding down here. Of course, regional rankings come out every Monday. I believe they came out at 3 o'clock or so this past week, so that's about the same time they're going to come out every week. Should be interesting to see with matchups this week. If you look at Northwest, they're mostly going to win, but this is a big game right now, Harding and Southeastern. If Southeastern loses, they're mostly out of the playoff picture. Ouachita right now, they're in the playoffs. They lose, they'll fall out. If not, they'll stay and keep throwing their hat in the ring. Shippensburg and Kutztown, it's a big matchup in Super Region number 1, as you can see. Kutztown right now at the brink at number 7, so 7 teams get in. Shippensburg right now at 9. A win over them might be able to catapult them over Notre Dame and get into the playoffs. And that one, so it's a big matchup between those two teams. Azusa, they're mostly out of the playoffs, but Central Washington trying to still get a high seed. Right now they're the 2 seed in the region. They need to keep winning. A win this week might not be enough to keep them above Minnesota State. If Minnesota State wins, though, they might jump to number 1 and Washington State at 2 with the win over Winona. So, as of course, Winona versus Minnesota State, top 3 teams in that region, probably fighting for a 1 seed, going to the playoffs. You get a bye week 1 and home field throughout your region. So, big matchup. I think Mankato wins it at home, though. If the game was in Winona, I might give them a better chance to win, but I like Mankato at home. And, of course, Duluth still trying to stay in playoff contention, of course. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Make sure everybody has a fun Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow with Missouri 8-man football. Also, follow, sorry, 1 second, @X106_sports for all things Bearcats, and also me on Twitter at Devin Albertson. So should be a fun rest of the week. Also, college basketball starting up. Of course, we saw Missouri, Kansas, Northwest Missouri State, the defending Division II basketball champions as well. They're going to Duke this Friday, take on the Blue Devils in an exhibition game over in Durham, North Carolina. So good luck to them in that matchup. Good luck to everybody this Saturday in Division II football. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great day and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and the rest of this week. I'll see you tomorrow morning for Missouri 8-man football.